chair throne, flip-flops, bathrobe, prepaid phone, lights his grill like a wizard spell. Y'all late for the council of Taco Bell. Frodo on a four-wheeler, barefoot tank top, ring on a keychain from the pawn shop. Sam's in the back with a 12-pack stash, yelling, I make tater salad, y'all smash. Welcome to the trailer park of the range, where one does not simply borrow my things. You shall not pass at the gravel road gate, unless you got beer or you owe me from 08. Motors that live with the burned out swings. We're the redneck fellowship of the range. Aragon's name on his work shirt reads, Earl drives a rusted out truck with a rebel girl. Lego's got a mullet, bleach blonde tips, shotgun aim, true spitting sunflower spits. Gimli's in a cut-off beard like steel, tiny little legs on his big old grill. They argue about NASCAR spitting a cup. Whoever wins beer pong's the king, step up. Welcome to Trailer Park of the Range, where one does not simply borrow my things. You shall not pass at the gravel road gate, unless you got beer or you owe me from 08. Motors that live with the burned out swings. We're the redneck fellowship of the range. Bormer screams, one does not simply walk past my cooler, that's my sweet tea. Tries the ring on just to get more dips, instantly trips over all his empties. Gollum in a kiddie pool full of ice, croaks my precious to the Cajun rice, steals all the wings from the barbecue pit. Filthy hobbit says never bring enough dip. Welcome to the trailer park of the range, where one does not simply borrow my things. You shall not pass at the gravel road gate, unless you got beer or you owe me from 08. Motors that live with the burned out swings. We're the redneck fellowship of the range. Saramon's tower is a rusty crane, stealing cable off the neighbor's lane. Orcs in white beaters, mud on their boots, blasting fireworks at the chickens ain't coop. And Adrienne runs a vape shop stand, Palm read a tarot spray tan can. Says if I took that ring, boy, I'd own this park and your ex-wife's ride. They hitch a busted boat to a shopping cart. Road trip, boys, this is where it starts. Mount Doom's just a county dump at night, glowing orange from the Christmas lights. Frodo says, Sam, if I don't pull through, clear my tabs at the drive-thru. Sam says, I ain't letting you go alone, we still got combo meals on loan. You shall not pass on the speed bump hill, trailer park, Middle Earth standing still. One ring lost in the septic tank spring, just another day in the trailer park of the range.
Hey guys, welcome to the program. We're going to do history, political history nonetheless. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on right now that are coming out about what's being found. I'll give you an example. I published an article you should see. It's some of the numbers that are coming out regarding the actual illegals that had voted in 2020. Not theory, not partisan hype, absolute fact. I'm giving you numbers directly from President Trump. You can find it on my articles on my X, on my Twitter. Yes, there's an article section. I just give you the numbers so you can read it for yourself. This is important because you're seeing a tremendous amount come out, like states have now been found to have in their voter registration automatic triggering software that is taking the illegal, register them, even though the illegal didn't register them, dropping them to the voter rolls. More nefarious stuff is coming out, and it is not the machines, it's people, paper, and programs. By the way, what we're going to talk about today is the two-party political hold and trap. This isn't politics per se. This is taking a look at everything historically. As soon as I finish this broadcast, join me over on Locals. I'm continuing my program on everything you need to know about Islam. You find that if you're on Rumble, click the red oval. That's how you join my locals. I do deep dive educational programs here. This is a ongoing series on Islam. This one, we're talking about the two faces of the Quran. There's so much to digest in this. Over 50 titles eventually in that one series, but you'll find it over at my locals by jumping with me next. And like I said, check out my article on X. I publish articles and audio there as well. And by the way, I did one audio. I want to warn you, don't think you know what I'm talking about just because of the title. And the title says, "Does the Bible promote genocide?" Don't even begin to think you know exactly what my point is until you listen to it, because you're very likely to comment and kind of have it all wrong. We're going to talk about this fellow today. We're going to do a deep dive into history. You're going to like it. But this is something we need to look at. The two political party system. Today's program, by the way, is brought to you by the fine folks at Goldco. It's a very simple proposition. I'm only asking you to go to jovanlovesgold.com because I'm telling you, and I'm telling you, and I'm telling you, and I'm telling you, they're going to take us all digital. Money, everything. Forget stashing money away at home. It's going digital, so everything can be tracked. Yes, it's happening in our lifetime now. It's already written into laws they're trying to pass, and they're sticking it in the ass crack of these big laws to run it through. Go to jovanlovesgold.com. This is why I partner with the folks at Goldco. Request your free gold and silver kit today, because now is the time to protect your money with gold and silver. And one of the things, if you want to maybe get a little bit more of a dose of my work on the professional side, when you watch me doing this type of broadcast, it's my passions. It is what trips my trigger, sharing, educating. But there is the professional side to me as well, the deep professional side. It's why I publish various business books. You might have seen the one called The Three-Toed Dragon. This is about the data center wars. You can always jump over to my LinkedIn. You'll see my full name there, where I do special broadcast about what's going on in business in America, what's going on in technology in America, versus the stuff we talk here. It's very, very focused. So you might want to possibly check some of that out. It's just a good way to, should we say, stay ahead of the curve in what's happening on the business side of the war, entrepreneurism, etc. The recent one I did yesterday is called Data Center Burden. It's called BYOP. You're going to want to know what BYOP is in relation to this war we're fighting, because it is a war and China's trying to kick our butts. Here's a taste of some of the things I talk about, but in great detail.
Have you noticed this going on? Your favorite podcaster tells you data centers will be the end of the world. Politicians are saying, new data centers will destroy our lands. Cities and counties are reacting with development moratoriums. Maybe even your favorite online preacher is preaching, they are the work of the devil. What if all you think you know is actually propaganda messing directed by China? Are the people you listen to too in the know? Or are they just regurgitating? There is no doubt about it. The United States is at war over data centers and artificial intelligence with China. But the ground game playing out, at the direction of China, is the battle for your mind. It's time to get the verifiable facts and decide whose side you are on. Are data centers evil? Will they be the end of rural America's water resources? Or is your mind under attack with unrelenting psychological warfare? America must win the AI data center war or surrender the future to the Great Dragon. Award-winning, 5-time best-selling author, technology pioneer, and futurist, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer presents the definitive manual for winning this war against China. The Three-Toed Dragon. Communist China's secret war to end American AI, and data centers. China's relentless drive for AI dominance is no longer a distant threat. Through massive, state-backed infrastructure, voracious energy consumption, and strategic control of global supply chains, the CCP is building an unstoppable technological empire. While America debates policy, China executes. For patriots, policymakers, energy entrepreneurs, technologists, and every citizen who refuses to live under digital authoritarianism, this is the essential field manual. America still holds the innovation edge, the resource base, and the will, but only if we act with urgency and clarity. The Great Dragon is moving at full speed. Available, hardback, softback, and ebook on Amazon. Get your copy now. The time to seize victory in the AI data center war is now. Read it, arm yourself, win.
Now, I tell people, if you think it's bad now, you can watch it every time I publish things or breaking things or facts. I am so shadow banned, so suppressed online, it's nuts. That's only about politics. When you understand this global war, and if we let China get ahead of us, nothing will ever be real again, ever. Ever. That's how bad this war is. That's why I talk about it. But today my topic is the two political party hold and trap. Go back in history. You remember when President Trump basically came out as a candidate. They kind of took him as a joke. It became very real. They realized America was behind them. And the GOP freaked out. They were afraid he was going to start a third party. I don't know if you remember the crisis. They knew he had the power and would more than likely start a third party. And that is what the system does not want. They cannot tolerate a third clear party that is not beholding to party politics, but does just what's right for America and American citizens. And it doesn't come with a label, Democrat or Republican. I'm not sure why people don't get this. You know, you can't just come out of anywhere and run. They're not going to let you on the ballot because they have even holds on the ballot to decide who runs, to decide who they allow. It's all crooked. That's why we're going to talk about this. Now, it's very funny because I prepare this to talk about this particular topic, John Adams and stuff, and very, very funny, right? My great pal, Dave Jose, love him to death, just a rock solid guy. He happened to post, I was like floored, right? Happened to post this morning this quote by John Adams. It's a letter to Jonathan Jackson, 2nd of October, 1780, from the works of John Adams, volume 9, page 511. It says, "There is nothing which I dread so much as a division of the republic into two great parties, each arranged under its leader, and concerting measures in opposition of each other. This is my humble apprehension, is to be dreaded as the greatest political evil under our Constitution." There's the man. We're going to talk about this because I think it applies today, because I'm telling you, the GOP is number one reason why we haven't fixed this election stuff. They don't want election fix. Each party, I believe, takes turns raping and robbing us. It's all about control, power, greasing their pockets. It's just what it is. So we're going to discuss this from the angle of John Adams. So I'm going to give you the history behind this so you understand what's going on, because he wrote, title of this program, a warning against political parties, context, meaning, and enduring thought. He was basically writing way back then, we're going to have a problem. So this was in October of 1780. He was serving as an American diplomat in Amsterdam. Just kind of a point of reference, let me give you what he was known for.
I am John Adams, blunt, stubborn, and the indispensable voice for independence in the Continental Congress. He called me obnoxious and disliked. I call it telling the truth. Facts are stubborn things, and whatever may be our wishes or inclinations, they cannot alter the state of facts. In other words, friend, facts do not care about our feelings. While Jefferson penned the Declaration, I drove the debate, won the votes, and dared to speak when others hesitated. I stood on principle, even when it cost me popularity. I never stood alone. My Abigail, my conscience, my counselor, carried the burdens of home while steadying my heart with her wisdom. I became vice president, then president, but my proudest title was always patriot. Now the charge is yours. Guard liberty well, for once lost, it is lost forever.
When you think about that, you know, as a matter of fact, the system hates the people that tells the truth. The system despises the people it cannot compromise. And one thing we need more is people willing to be transparent and tell the truth as it is and not worry about it. I get a lot of flack for this. President Trump gets a lot of flack for this. It's worth watching that video again so you understand philosophically where he comes from.
I am John Adams, blunt, stubborn, and the indispensable voice for independence in the Continental Congress. He called me obnoxious and disliked. I call it telling the truth. Facts are stubborn things, and whatever may be our wishes or inclinations, they cannot alter the state of facts. In other words, friend, facts do not care about our feelings. While Jefferson penned the Declaration, I drove the debate, won the votes, and dared to speak when others hesitated. I stood on principle, even when it cost me popularity. I never stood alone. My Abigail, my conscience, my counselor, carried the burdens of home while steadying my heart with her wisdom. I became vice president, then president, but my proudest title was always patriot. Now the charge is yours. Guard liberty well, for once lost, it is lost forever.
So what we're going to cover the quote that I talked about. I'm going into detail because we need to seriously look and understand what's going on. This is our life. Even though it's a political topic, the two political party hold and trap. And again, I just want to remind you, as soon as I get done with this program, I will be hopping over to my locals to continue my series on Islam. This particular installment is the two faces of the Quran. Very compelling information. Okay, so let's talk about Mr. Adams, where he comes from, what he digs, what he stands for, and you pay attention because you'll understand how it applies today. So the bottom line, in October of 1780, while serving as an American diplomat in Amsterdam, John Adams wrote a private letter to Jonathan Jackson. He was a Massachusetts merchant and a fellow participant in the recent state constitutional convention you've heard so much about. In that letter appears one of the most frequently quoted warnings in early American political thought. I'll quote it again. There is nothing I dread so much as a division of the republic into two great parties, each arranged under its leader, and concerning measures in opposition to each other. This, in my humble apprehension, is the dreaded key thing and the greatest political evil under our Constitution. Now, his language was very precise, very deliberate, Adams was not speaking in the abstract. He was speaking about human nature and what happens. He was speaking about not even distant or past history, it's just what it is. Now, he was referring to this framed in the context of the new Massachusetts Constitution of 1780. This is a document he himself largely drafted. And to the Republican experiment underway in his home state, key here, people forget we are a constitutional republic. That's why we've worked for so long. It is the nature of the republic that they want to destroy. So he drafted this in his home state. Our Constitution meant that Massachusetts' frame of government that had just been ratified by the people and was about to go into effect, the republic we're speaking of, is the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So you got to understand the setting around this, etc., right? So his life, born in 1735, died in 1826, he was, at that moment, a seasoned revolutionary statesman, been through the Revolutionary War. He had been the leading advocate of independence in the Continental Congress. He was the principal author of the Massachusetts Constitution and was then in Europe seeking loans and diplomatic recognition for the struggling, newly formed United States of America. Jonathan Jackson had served on the drafting committee of the Massachusetts Convention, and Adams' letter begins with congratulations on the successful completion of that work and reflections on the coming elections they were about to have for governor, senator, and council. Now, this famous warning appears in the middle of practical advice about choosing wise office holders, so that even a mediocre governor would be constrained to do right. This is about the interdependence of everybody holding each other accountable, which is something that has, I think, disappeared from our government. So the Massachusetts Constitution of 1780 was probably Adams' most proudest institutional achievement. It featured a strong executive with a qualified veto. It was what's called a bicameral legislature, meaning they're separate, an independent judiciary, and a declaration of rights, putting down what the rights are. It was the first state constitution to be written by a specifically elected convention and submitted to the people for ratification. You got to understand why this is. The people chose the people wrote it, it was put back to the people to approve. And so that innovation is what directly influenced our national constitution. Now, Adams believed its carefully balanced structure of separated powers and checks could prevent any single interest from dominating. I mean, come on, folks, when you think about stuff like USAID and all the money that's being siphoned and funneled, they're always finding ways to corrupt the system, regardless of what the rules are. He saw this coming, but he saw it coming in a different form, that it wouldn't just be about bad actors, it would be about parties doing things only for party reasons, not people reasons. Adams strongly believed that its carefully balanced structure of separated powers and checks could prevent any single interest from dominating. Yet at that time, he already feared that structure alone would not be enough if the people, this is the key, if the people divided themselves into disciplined opposing camps. Do you understand the difference there? This is really key. There are parties, we'll call parties thematics. It's a brand, it's something to lay over. That was a way for parties to differentiate themselves. However, what he feared is the people, instead of just doing what was right, instead of using common sense, the people themselves would identify with the party and then just decide to go along with the party no matter what. Now, you can see a lot of this happen both on the left and the right. I think it really, as you know, drives the left because they will vote for things that will kill the population, but they're doing it because we're progressive. This is what he was warning about. If the people divided themselves into disciplined, organized camps, the reason being, instead of electing officials for doing what was right, enacting the job, it would all become party-driven. And that party politics would supersede what was true and needed for the people. Now, there was deep thinking behind this warning. Adams' dread of two great parties rested on a lifetime of reading history and observing politics. He could see it coming. This is the way it is. Think about how did liberals dominate things? They basically brought in the Black American population, saying it's civil rights, this, we're for you, and boom. They didn't just happen to be Black Americans. They became Democrats. Same for the LGBTQ, whatever the letters are today. They suck them in and they get them into that party thing, operating in unison as to what the party wants. He learned this by studying deeply the republics that had already existed in the past and what happened to them of Greece and Rome and the Italian city-states, and especially the troubles they went through, primarily the troubles of the 17th and 18th century England. History's our teacher, folks. That's where the same thing comes from. We're doomed to repeat it, right? If we don't learn from it. So in those examples, he saw a recurring pattern. Once citizens arranged themselves under rival leaders and begin systematically opposing one another. Think about how many liberals, I'm going to vote for anybody except Trump. This is what he warned about. When they started arranging themselves the way that the people, what happened is the public spirit, what made all of this work, gave way to private ambition. Truth gave way to propaganda. And the common good fell, this will resonate with you, fell for the temporary good of one side. We're in office, we got to do this real quick, it's all about the party. That is when, and what he was warning about, the people are going to lose. That's why we're talking about this man. Think about that. When you separated by party and you took on the ID of the party, then what happened is that American spirit, it became something different and it gave way to private ambition. It turned from truth to propaganda. It turned from the common good to the temporary advantage of the one party side in power. He said these factions, in his view, were not merely disagreements about policy. They were organized efforts to capture the machinery of government for the benefit of one group at the expense of the whole. Yeah, they cornholed us, but it's also with a W, the expense of the whole. In his view, these were not disagreements about policy. They were organized efforts to capture the machinery of government for the benefit of one group at the expense of the whole. Now, just so you know, Adams wasn't unique in his thought. Many of the founders shared what is called the classical Republican suspicion of factions. This goes back to Rome, Senate conspiracies, etc., forming factions, forming hit squads, forming squads. Come on, folks. It all became about the inside stuff. It went away from the people. James Madison would later define faction in the Federalist number 10, Federalist Papers, as a number of citizens united by a common passion or interest adverse to the rights of other citizens. Federalist number 10. When a number of citizens united by a common passion or interest, unique to them, totally averse to the rights of other citizens, or to the permanent interest of the community. You can see it in this illegal crap going on today, bringing illegals. It totally goes against the needs and the logic of our great constitutional republic. And a small group, forgetting everybody else, forgetting everybody else, just became about votes, keeping them in power. You've seen it happen. George Washington talked about this in his farewell address of 1796. By the way, in my book, Blind Faith, if you're reading it, by the way, folks, when you get my books, would you please make sure you leave your reviews? But in the Blind Faith part, I donate many sections to how we were founded as Judeo-Christian and what that really meant in terms of the how we even did this in America, how much it is intrinsic to who we are as Americans. I included in there George Washington's farewell address of 1776. He warned there, the baneful effects of the spirit of party. Yet Adams' formulation in 1780 is much darker. He calls two great parties the greatest political evil under the Constitution. I kind of learned this the hard way. When President Trump first came out and the GOP was afraid he would start a third party and they would lose power, they convinced him to come on as GOP, say, look, we got lists, we got money, we'll help you out. So he chose to be a member. Membership is what it is of the GOP because membership has its privileges. What he didn't really realize is once he went under the membership of the party, they forever controlled his name and his likeness. And I can prove this to you. Go back in your spam folder and all this other stuff, all the emails you get that Trump this, Trump that, here's the party, got to do it, save this, message from President Trump. Scroll all the way down to the bottom of the emails and you'll hear all of these obscure BS organizations raising money. You think it's from Trump. It has nothing to do with it. It's party apparatuses raising money using his name because now they forever control his likeness, get to use his likeness. This is why Adams called two great parties the greatest political evil under the Constitution. So why the greatest? Because Adams believed a balanced Constitution could restrain individual ambition and even limit the harm of temporary majorities. What it could not easily restrain was a permanent, disciplined opposition that treated every measure as a test of party loyalty rather than the question of justice or the public good. Think about this, how it's come to pass. Think about how everybody's measured about party loyalty. I get a lot of shit for this because I call blatant liars out, like Mike Lindell saying he had the PCAPs, had it all. But then you find out in court, he never had it. I catch crap online. Patrick Byrne admonished me the other day, and I said, it's kind of funny. You'll call out me, but you won't even call out Mike Lindell for the lie of the PCAPs. This is what Adams warned against. Now, I'm probably a unique beast because I can't be swayed, oh, it's for the greater good, be the party, do the party, when I can see what it is. So I call it, just like Adams, exactly as it is. And let me tell you, it does not make friends and it does not influence people. What he warned about is, yes, the Constitution can restrain individual ambition. You got to now understand we have party ambitions. Look at all the money's bleeding out of the system. Party ambitions. and that it would limit harm when there's temporary majorities. But what it could not restrain was permanent, disciplined opposition that treated every measure as a test of party loyalty rather than the question of justice or what is the public good. And it's true. Once two parties formed, each with its leader, each with its own media organs, its newspapers, now its blogs, its broadcasters, everything else, each with its networks of patronage, right? And its habit of concerting measures solely to defeat the other, right? The constitutional machinery itself would be captured and turned into, this will ring true, something that is only about partisan warfare. Elections would become struggles for domination rather than contest of what is right and the principles involved. Office holders would be selected for fidelity to the party. This is my Mike Lindell thing. They raise him up because he'll toe the line they want out. The GOP wanted out. It's the machine, so you'd stay away from the voter rolls and the ballot. He warned that office holders would be selected and promoted for fidelity to the party rather than fitness for the public trust. And boy, is that not true or what? The independent judgment that Republican government required of citizens, be informed, know what you're doing, of officials, be informed, know who you represent, would wither away. And boy, it has. Adams also understood that parties tended to polarize and exaggerate differences. In a letter that he put out later in 1812, he observed that political divisions in America had existed from the first plantation, and that every measure of the Continental Congress had been disputed with acrimony, meaning people choosing sides, you got to be with me or against me. He did not believe that the party should be abolished. He just believed that human nature would make them inevitable. What he dreaded was their crystallization into two great permanent nationally organized forces that would systematically oppose each other. It's all about opposing each other. Not, you know this, it's not about what's doing right for the people. I think this is what foreign countries and those that interfere in the United States and our government and stuff, I think this is what they've capitalized on. This is the chaos part of it. We did this to ourselves. What he actually preferred was politics shifting coalitions, of individual judgment, of temporary alliances formed around particular issues versus the fixed party machines. That's worth saying again. He said the best way is politics of shifting conditions, coalitions, individual judgment, and temporary alliances around particular issues, coming together for the common good, rather than the fixed party machine. Now, this basically went from a warning to a freaking reality. You can see it as I do this. Now, the irony of Adams' career is well known. Within 2 decades, the very division he had feared had become the central fact of American politics. Only took 2 decades. And look how far we are removed from those decades of fixing this. It only took 2 decades. The Federalists associated with Alexander Hamlin and reluctantly with Adams himself, and then the Democrat Republicans led by Thomas Jefferson and James Madison emerged as the disciplined national parties. Adams' own presidency, 1797 to 1801, was consumed with partisan conflict over the quasi-war with France, the Alien and Sedition Acts, and the bitterly contested election of 1800. Same old, folks. He later reflected that Jefferson had a party, that Hamilton had a party, but the Commonwealth had none. Meaning the people at large really had none, but the candidates had formed party. Now, he tried, often unsuccessfully, to stand above party, but he paid a heavy price for us because identifying with the party is what became the norm. But Adams never, ever abandoned his underlying convention. Later in life, one of a kind man, folks, standing on principles. Late in life, he continued to distinguish between honest differences of opinion and the spirit of faction that subordinates truth and the public interest to just deliver a party victory. He accepted that parties would exist, but he never stopped regarding their organized, permanent, adversarial form as a danger to our Republican government. And by the way, that warning still resonates. Adams' 1780 letter speaks to permanent tension in free governments. On one side stands the classical idea, citizens exercising independent judgment, representatives deliberating for the common good, institutions designed to check ambition with ambition, meaning serving the people versus your political gain. On the other side stands the practical reality at large that complex societies will generate organized interest. There will be competing visions of the good and the human tendency to form teams. We watch this in election integrity. I sit and I shake my head. Every day you find out more about, yes, illegals voted. Yes, illegals were put on the voter rolls. Yes, here's how they do it. But you go back to all this war we fought trying to fix our election from 2020. Everybody coalesced into an idea. It's the machines, and it flipped the votes. And that became the party line, and everybody ignored the truth. And now it's too late. Society tends to organize around interest. They tend to create this really weird thing of competing visions of good. By the way, fixing our elections is not competing with anyone. It's a fact that should happen. It should be by the people, for the people, of the people, not whether you're a liberal or a Democrat. You see how that's gone away. Because people naturally form teams. So political parties, they organize voters, they clarify choices, and they can hold governments accountable, and they can channel conflict into peaceful competition. But are they doing that? When it becomes the end themselves, when the machines that reward loyalty over competence, you know that's happening. They reward loyalty over competence. I'll go back to the election stuff. So many top-ranking known people are absolute cowards and will not call out the con of the machines, how we have all these CIA whistleblowers not to be identified. Oh, the white hats got it all, which offer no proof, and the PCAPs and all that stuff is a sham. And they are total cowards because they will not call it out. Why? Because the machine rewards loyalty over competence. And it's got to treat opponents as enemies. And by the way, when it comes to election integrity, everybody in America, we are not enemies. We are all in the same boat. We live and die by this. And when they put stuff off, which we see all the time. Well, I'm not going to deal with that now. We got an election coming up. I don't want to talk about what's wrong in elections. I'll talk about this. When they put all of that off and they subordinate every policy in question as determined, well, we got to get to another election first, has come to bear. Another one of Adams' specific fears was when the parties, division into two great parties arranged under leaders, and it only came about opposing the other party. It never became what was right. And he basically said that pattern, when that happens, see if this rings true. When it's only about the party and who's loyal to the party, not about what gets done and what's right, because you see the GOP fighting Trump every day. That's why they wanted to not allow the elimination of funding for USAID. That was Republicans stopping that. He basically realized and prophesied, and was absolutely true, that when that happens and it coalesces into two parties, it's about party that will poison deliberation. It will corrupt appointments. It'll make passions flare in the wrong way. They'll become hateful, and they will ultimately undermine the constitutional balance that he and others worked so hard to establish in Massachusetts. History has shown both power and the cost of this pattern. It's here. Now, the two-party system, as you know, is written in stone in the United States. There are some aspects of it that have provided stability, yet it has produced an insane amount of polarized institutional gridlock. Look at this stuff with illegals we know is destroying our country. We know is ripping our country apart. We know it's used to keep politicians in office, all done to try to keep one party relevant, and therefore it's total gridlock. We can't get anything that is right to be fixed because they hold that over here. Well, we got to slip that in and solidify that more. That's the battle. And so we have lost long-term interest. Our long-term interest has been subordinated to short-term partisan advantage. You know it and I know it. This is exactly what Adams said would happen. So that quote that started this all, why I've even doing this teaching moment, it's not just a colorful quotation. It is a window into a founder who had just helped design one of the most sophisticated Republican constitutions of his age or any age, who already saw the greatest threat was not external enemies, not even formal defects in structure, but the internal division of when the citizens divide into two hostile camps. That's the challenge. Can a free people maintain independence even while organizing themselves for political contest? Ponder that one. Can we as citizens maintain the independence of mind, interest in the common good that the Republican type of government requires, even when we organize for political contest? Or does it become all-out war only about the party? So has the two-party system inevitably become the greatest political evil under the Constitution? That question, first posed by John Adams in 1780, some will say it's never been fully answered. I'm telling you, he was right on and he got his answer. And this is why we have a system that's so horribly broken. It seems everything is against just freaking common sense on both sides. And it only rewards the people going up the political ladder who will walk the party line. And I think that now entails pissing on everything that's just right for all of us as Americans. Because I'm telling you, before it's gay Americans and African Americans and Hispanic Americans, that damn hyphen that divided and grouped, the bottom line is we are all Americans. The GOP doesn't represent us. The DNC doesn't represent us. And they're all playing games of one-upmanship, and we're the ones that pay the price. You know it, and I know it's what it is. By the way, I'm going to head over to my locals now. I'm going to continue my series on Islam. This one is the two faces of the Quran, but you've been listening to me talk about the two political party hold and trap. I'm interested in your comments as to what you think. Pay attention to the link. I'll see you over at Locals next.
Why do you believe what you believe? Did you choose your religion, or did it choose you through family habit? Did you know a single fiery argument 2,000 years ago, or a fight 700 years ago, or a split that happened because of buttons on a coat, or the exact spelling of Jesus' name, or one Greek letter that decided whether Christ had one nature or two, may have formed the religion you follow? Maybe you never knew what formed your religion was the conflict over the use of 2 fingers over 3 fingers. Most of us walk through life with a faith we inherited, but never truly examined. We call ourselves Christian, non-denominational, spiritual, Pentecostal, Jehovah's Witness, Amish, Mennonite, Old Believer, or just churchgoer, without knowing the shocking stories behind the brand we wear. Things like one failed prophecy in 1844 or 1914, or even slavery in the Civil War, may have decided your religion. Maybe Charles Darwin decided your religion. Debates over whether God or Jesus removes sins, or bread only, wine only, or both for communion. Maybe it was just sprinkling a baby or dunk deep for baptismal. Was it prayer must be silent off in a corner, or must be loud on your knees? Married priests or celibate, Latin or Greek, facing the sun or turning your back to the sun when you pray? These weren't small disagreements. They fractured churches, created whole new movements, sparked executions for heresy, sometimes caused the murder of millions, and shaped the spiritual lives of billions. One group banned bright colors as demonic. Another argued over how to punish the disobedient. Gurneyites, Hiskites, Wilburites, Hutterites, names most have never heard, yet they still quietly divide people today. Blind Faith is the most exhaustive, no-holds-barred deep dive ever published into the hidden history of the faith, religion, and church you think you know. It pulls back the curtain on a 2,000-year war of ideas, politics, power, and sincere conviction that turned sincere believers against one another over questions that still echo in our churches, our families, and our culture wars. This isn't dry theology. It's a straight-talking layman's journey that forces you to confront the uncomfortable truth. Much of what we accept as just the way it is started as human arguments dressed up as divine will. Faith is powerful, but blind faith blinds us to facts, to history, and sometimes even to the very truth it claims to defend. Dig deep. Question everything you thought you knew, because until you understand where your faith really came from, you're not truly walking in it. You're just following the path someone else cut centuries ago. Are you ready to see